Dumela Mbahaitu, and good evening. Can I say all protocol observed? And I should start by thanking Professor Shisana, our CEO at the Human Science Research Council, for her warm word of welcome, and Professor Lukelo Olorunju for her welcoming remarks too. There's been a slight change in the program because His Excellency and his team are on the way. So we are going to proceed with the conversations. I should start by apologizing because I think one of our speakers, Professor Adebayo Olugush, is not in the house. If Professor Ray Durham is somewhere in the audience, oh, thank you, great. I was just looking for one more speaker. But otherwise, my panel is more or less complete. I'm probably going to request them to come up front and be seated and have their conversation from up in the front of the podium. And they will be Professor Pius Adesami, Deputy Director General, Madam Maud Zomo, Professor Patricia McFadden, and Professor Durham. They will be speaking to us on a variety of topics. Among others, they'll be exploring some of the issues that speak to African solutions to African past problems with respect to the subject of culture, governance, civil society, and of course, science and technology. The previous speakers, including the CEO, have spoken to some of the challenges that we face with respect to speaking honestly and cogently about African problems, African solutions to African problems, particularly when oftentimes the feeling or the sentiment, both locally and globally, is that there are more problems than possibly solutions from the ground. But I think most of us wish to maintain a very hopeful spirit and believe that there are probably quite a number of innovative solutions in the making. And as we converse over the next 4 days, it is my sincere belief that some of the thought-provoking presentations we will hear will also begin to point us to much more of the possibilities around solutions for a number of problems, which are not necessarily unique to Africa, but are critical in the way they probably affect our development trajectories. In this particular instance, I'm very happy that we have a framework around which we can frame some of our conversations. The Agenda 2063, which is before the African Union at the moment, is one such instrument that is giving us an opportunity to converse both at the level of policymakers and civil society. And through that instrument, we can begin to unpack some of the challenges, both historical, prehistorical, current, and hopefully begin to chart ways in which our future pathways can be realized through different and creative and enabling opportunities and solutions. Without taking my speaker's time, I'd like to conclude my own remarks by saying that clearly when we talk about Africa and the continent of Africa, we're not simply speaking about Africa, the geographic space, but Africa and Africans, both on the continent and in the diaspora. Africa has created both diasporas and received diasporas. And I think it is, in my view, important that the idea of Africa remains a very global concept that is inclusive of our diversities. And also that the very spirit of Botu or Ubuntu that has been the thread that bound us throughout the period of Africa's struggles towards liberation and beyond continues. And I think we are seeing expressions of that in the more recent united outcry by citizens both on the continent and beyond around the subject of children, particularly the more recent challenge of the children abducted in Chibok in Nigeria. Clearly, there has been a global and concerted effort to try and ensure that our children grow up in safety and realize the dreams that they should deserve. But that challenge will continue for so long as there are also other unchecked developments that give privilege to those that are probably fueling conflict and also creating opportunities for instability. So one of the things that I believe most of the panelists will probably speak to will be how we can turn some of the technological advancements or advances that we have into tools of opportunity and not tools of conflict making. So without much further ado, I will allow my panelists to introduce themselves very briefly and to engage, starting with Professor Adeshami.